Seabelo Senatla, hammer down. His top try scorer, Seabelo Senatla. Look at the speed of Senatla!
Reports of a potential career-ending car accident involving Blitzboks and Stormers star Seabelo Senatla.
I got called on the Sunday morning by Ruan, his best mate, and he said, like, Dunks, I just don't know what to do. And that was kind of the final straw, and it was emotional to say the least, because you're looking at someone you care about deeply, and right in front of your eyes there's this possibility that he's destroying his life.
Hopefully, the guilt and shame that I felt, in the past of letting the guys down, I'll repay that and give them a little bit more.
And Seabelo Senatla completes a quite extraordinary comeback with a try, an 11th try in this competition, the first of this season, the first time he's been in a Stormers jersey this year. The details of his comeback are quite something.
Saturday with me, Jeremy Harris, in studio with somebody I haven't seen in almost 2 years, Seabelo Senatla, former Blitzboks winger, DHL Stormers winger, and so, I mean, welcome back is the first thing I want to say.
Thank you very much. You're the only one that actually says former, because people still ask me, when are you going back?
Are you going back?
Highly unlikely.
But it's not completely off the card.
We never know what God is planning, so we can never write things off.
Yeah.
But this is phase 3 of my career, which is solely 15s. So yeah, that's the sweat and focus right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, of course, in studio, and I want to just say a big thanks to Head of Player Affairs for the DHL Stormers, Duncan Cruikshank, long-time sufferer of my phone calls and requests, but at the same time also very generous in terms of giving us access to the players. Dunks, thanks so much for what you do for the show and for the team at Heart FM.
Always a pleasure, Jeremy.
So we want to talk about the fact that for the last 19 years, Seabelo Senatla has been missing in action. I mean, I know that's sort of
19 months.
Did I say 19 years?
I was about to ask how old
He's
is
old, he's old, not that old.
Yeah, no, he's looking good though. I mean, let's be honest. For the last 19 months, I stand corrected, he's been missing in action. I know that isn't 100% true, because there's been a lot happening in the background that nobody's been aware of. But the disappearance came as a result of a car accident, which was something that happens. Then was the recovery from the accident and from the injury sustained. Talk to us about these 19 months, because we're going to dig into the 19.
Yeah.
But talk to us about the 19 months watching your friends, watching your brothers, as you call them, play, win, lose, travel, and not being part of it.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to explain, to be quite honest. I don't have the words for it. I don't have the words for it, but it was extremely tough, as one would imagine, moving away from the game that you loved, something that you've known since you were 19, and pretty much something that I've been working towards my whole life. You lose some sort of purpose, and once that is taken away, and you start questioning life a lot. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind watching the guys from the outside while trying to seek health myself. So yeah, it's been crazy ride. I think we're gonna get a whole lot into it now. But yeah, it's been mad.
And I mean, when you say it's been crazy, it's been mad, you've watched them, and I mean, are we imagining that you must have felt like left out? You must have felt like, the life is passing me by, and here I am sitting watching it sort of go past me.
Well, look, it all started with the quarterfinals of the 2022-23 season. I got injured then. We were playing the Bulls that Saturday, right? So fast forward, the guys win that game, they win the next, and they play in the final back at home in Cape Town Stadium against Munster, and they narrowly lose. I'm sitting at the hospital, in my bed, thinking to myself, geez, this loss is on me. I know it's pretty it's crazy to think about it like that, but I really felt like, not to say that I'm brilliant or anything like that, but I felt like, I would have contributed in some sort of way, shape or form into the season. They kind of lost me at a very integral time. And I had blamed myself so much for it. Even though in reality, if I was probably there, I wouldn't have, made much of a difference. But the human mind thinks like that. And those are my thoughts. So you batter yourself over small things like that, and then you watch how things go. And things have really been a little bit on the decline, and you kind of try to put yourself into the situation again and try to justify what things would have been like if we were inside. So there was a lot of blaming happening within that period. I felt a lot of guilt for not being there with the boys, and obviously contributing. And I felt like, my unavailability or my disappearance, had some sort of factor in them playing bad. Human mind works tricks, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. I hear you. And I think that's it's a natural reaction, natural feeling. If I'd been there, might we have won? Who knows?
You think about all sorts of all of that, and in reality, you basically you wouldn't have changed the outcome, because that's up to God, right? That's not up to us. But your mind just tells you that things might have been different, and you wonder about these things, and you play it out so many times in your mind, and more times than often, you end up landing on the negative side of things, and emotions like guilt and shame come through, and they start eating you alive. That's part of the mad and the ugly stuff that kind of happened in the space, which led me to other stuff as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the other stuff, because as you say, there was a I'm going to say it was a negative space. You were blaming yourself. I can tell you unfairly, but you were blaming yourself. And you acted out, by doing what? Talk to us.
Yeah, moreover than anything, I think it was a sense of losing my sort of purpose. I talked about it earlier in our inset that when rugby is your whole life and you kind of lose that. Never mind life, because when you look at an accident in its entirety, you look at it from a space of, dude, geez, you could have lost a life. Then you look at secondary stuff like, oh my God, my arm almost got amputated. Yeah, that was a conversation within the corridors. And then the last little thing is the rugby part. Am I going to get back to rugby? So we look at life and health first. But I was looking at the last little bit instead of looking at the first. And you look at rugby being taken away from you, and me as an athlete and having found purpose within this thing, which is not the case now, but having found purpose in this thing, it was my eternal, right? So you have that taken away, and I can't do anything. My days were filled with nothing. There's no schedule, there's nothing. I couldn't even do daily activities like, carry a coffee mug or brush my teeth, or I couldn't do stuff like that. I had to be helped all the time. And obviously as someone that is quite dependent, that ate me up. It's just I felt like a failure. I felt like pretty much nothing, right? And in this period where a lot was going on through my mind and I was experiencing things physically, I found alcohol to be a comforter. Yeah. I leaned a whole lot into it. And it started being my best friend, because in those moments where I thought about a lot and I was going through a lot, it silenced a lot of that.
And it made you feel better all of a sudden.
My man, I forgot about everything. Yeah. And suddenly all was good again, Yeah. And you kind of get in a loop then, once that wears out, then you face reality again, then you don't want to do that. So you kind of have it all the time so that it doesn't wear out. It starts being a cycle. And obviously somewhere across the line, and you start indulging in heavy alcoholism, you really indulging in it, and you get to a point where you can't stop because it just happened for such a long time. So it just became a pattern, and then suddenly you're not in control anymore you know, it's something that has control over you, and you can't stop on your own.
Yeah.
And you try to stop on your own, and you do this, you do that, you find ways. You say, okay, cool, maybe it's a wine. Let me start drinking beer. Maybe beer will be the thing, and you start going to the beer, and you drink the beer, then you go to the wine, then you go to the cognac that actually you think is the problem.
Yeah.
But the problem is not those things. They are the effects thereof. The root of the problem was really just my alcoholic mind, and it's been a thing that I'm genetically born with. Obviously, like now, it got discovered because of the situation that I was in. But this is the period where it actually surfaced. So yeah, it's been quite a journey in that respect, and it pretty much it brought me to my knees. It brought me to my knees, and you know, strangled me. Because I really wanted to stop, but I just couldn't find the willpower. And I used to ask myself, like, how can I have so much discipline and willpower in certain things, but with this one specific thing, I just couldn't stop. It used to boggle my mind. They say alcohol is baffling.
Yeah.
In our rooms. So I used to ask myself questions like, why can't I with this thing? Why is it so hectic? It really brought me to a place of surrender, and you know, I had to like seek out help. And also had people within my space at that point in time that, you know, were seeing what was going on. And they were trying to help me. They were trying to find solutions.
And were you receptive to that, or you going, I've got this, guys, I've got it under control?
At first, I won't lie, I was just like, nah, because I'm relying on my willpower.
Yeah.
I know I've got willpower. I've seen myself practice it in so many things. I feel like where I am right now in terms of rugby, that's willpower. Like, I'm here because I have a certain type of will, right? So I was like, nah, I've got this. And also I talked about it earlier, also me being a very independent person, you know, I've always found a way to like turn things over by myself. So asking for help is such a huge problem for me. So when the help tried to come, I was like, nah, I got it. And this thing just kept on bringing me on my knees. It was so powerful. And I didn't understand the power that it had over me. And I was praying to God. I was like, yo, God, like, please just take this thing away from me. I don't know what it is. I can't do it by myself. And all of that happened in tandem when pretty much I had been at my rock bottom. And my friends, you know, having introduced this concept of rehab, Duncan, that was sitting next to, was actually the one person that steered me towards rehab. Was like, dude, I don't want to sit down and having to watch the guys form a line or a circle, and we're at DHS Stadium and we're having a moment of silence for you, because this is where it's going to go. I see it happening slowly, and this is where it's going to go. We're both chunking in the room there, like, having heart to heart. So these things were put into my space, and because I was at a point of surrender, then I really accepted them, and, you know, wanted a way out.
And did you consider, or maybe you didn't at the time, but I mean, maybe afterwards now, I mean, did you consider that this potentially might end your rugby career?
Well, the alcohol, you say?
Yes, I mean, the fact that you were, you know, that dependent, and you were not able to easily walk away from it.
Yeah, it was going there slowly. It was certainly going there slowly. Like, my health was being affected and stuff. Like, I couldn't train properly as well. And you start being a very undependable person as well. You know, the stuff that you miss, you start missing training, which I never do. Start missing training. I was training by myself then, but like those small disciplines that you start missing, you know, and they start becoming like a recurrence of things that you start accepting. It's like, okay, it's okay if I miss one, and then one is two, and then two is three, and it starts accumulating. So you start losing your discipline and your integrity and all of that stuff. That's quite essential to you being a very moral person, and like a well-principled person. And that's the part I really didn't like, because I was moving away from who I was in my entirety. I was moving away from that, and I had regained character defects, and those were kind of like the new me. My traits were not as they were. They were kind of, I formed new traits that I was slowly going into, and that was a different human being altogether. A human being that I didn't really like.
I want to say thank you. I mean, we're not done, but I mean that's a whole lot of upfront answering of a question, probably more than I've had from anybody that I've interviewed. I mean, that's honesty.
Serious. Yeah, very, very honest. I have to be.
Yeah.
I have to be true. I have to be true because these are real things. They happen, right? And if we don't talk about them, we're going to stay, like they're going to stay under the rug and people are not going to be helped by them. If, I would say the Dunks, like if my story, and I'm saying it to you now, if my story can help one person, I would have done God's will for my life. That's what I believe is my purpose now. I said now rugby is not my purpose. I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to inspire hope.
Yeah.
And if my story can do that, I'm living in God's will for my life.
Gosh,
whether I'm playing rugby.
You took my breath away there for a second. But I want to bring in Duncan Cruikshank because, as you say, this is a conversation which the two of you had. And there was a lot of emotion. And there was a lot of, I would imagine, straight talking, Dunk.
Jeremy, imagine praying to God for help and God sends me. What did you think? Yeah. Crikey. You can cut that if you want to. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. And Seabelo, I mean, he said he reminded me of it a while ago. It got quite emotional. And what had happened was Sunday morning. This happened on a Monday. Actually, let me take you back a little further.
Yeah.
Sort of 6 or 8 months, something like that, into his recovery, we started getting sort of stories of poor behavior, shall we say, in inverted commas. And so I have a friend who's a psychologist who, in fact, interestingly, is a recovered addict himself. And I approached him and I said, look, how do we deal with something like this? There's a bunch of us that's quite concerned. We want to have, in inverted commas, an intervention. So we lured him into the HPC under false pretenses. We hid people in a room. We told him Dobbo wanted to see him just to catch up. And then, of course, he walked into the room and there was Shakes and Sticks and Ruan and Tilden and Murray and a whole bunch of us. And we kind of said, look, we're worried about you. And he was incredibly receptive to it. He went, because in that situation, often what can happen is the guy can stand up and go, there's nothing wrong. Like, leave me alone. I'm all good. I'm out of here. And he didn't. He went, yep, I'm not doing well. I do need help. Thanks, guys. Tell me what I need to do, etc., etc.
Let me just jump in here, Dunk, and ask Seabelo. I mean, you obviously recall that interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it that you felt? Did you feel scared? Did you feel like you were put on the spot? Were you embarrassed?
At first, I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Right, am I being summoned in? But I wasn't embarrassed because all of these people that were inside the room were people that I know quite well.
Yeah.
So it's people that have known what's been going on. So I wasn't embarrassed per se. And because it was a period where I wasn't at my rock bottom yet, but I was slowly moving into it. So I had started toying with, the concept of help then. And I was, that's why I was like quite receptive to it. And I know I was not doing well. And it was in a period where I had started trying to impose myself will, and it was failing. So I think that's why I was quite receptive to it, because like it was in that period where I was struggling a little bit. I think like I watch most people, like in my situation, if you catch them quite early, they're not gonna be receptive. You need to really suffer.
Yeah.
You need to really suffer to be accepting of this.
I think that's the point. It was just too early.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite at the point where he was ready to commit.
Yeah.
So he understood that we were worried about him and that there was a problem, but he wasn't ready to commit himself to really looking for solutions. So, and just to pick up the story from there, we kind of backed off and he went through some motions. So we suggested that he go and talk to someone. We were very careful about the language we used. We didn't want to say, you're an alcoholic, or, we talked about a negative relationship with alcohol and all those kind of things that we were just trying to push him into where we felt he needed to be. And then we kind of stood back and hoped, I suppose, because how much can you delve into someone else's life? So you hope that you've made an impression and that it's going to help. And then fast forward many, many months, and again, I started getting reports of like really poor behavior. And I think the final straw was when Ranel called me on a Sunday morning, and I don't think I've ever experienced two athletes or grown men who they are tight.
Yeah, very tight.
They are super tight. They absolutely adore each other.
Yeah, they're brothers.
And when Ruan phoned me and just went like, I don't know what to do anymore. It was enough to push me over the edge. And funnily enough, I had known about someone else who'd just come out of rehab, and the reports back were really good about this particular facility. And I kind of made a decision that Sunday morning to put it all in place. And then I was going to attack him the next day, and he would be in and gone, and everything would be fine. And so what happened was the next morning he comes into the HPC, and he's doing his usual kind of physical thing, and Seabelo, hi, everything's great and positive and all the rest. Come here, come sit in my office, shut the door, and I just, what do you say in that situation, and I went, okay, now's the time, and I didn't hold back. And I threw it at him. Like, here's what I've heard. It's enough. You are heading fast towards death. And it was that kind of, and we kind of, the tears started flowing a little bit, and it was all ridiculously emotional.
Yeah.
And we'd got a lot of support from the Rugby Players Union, my players, who I'd kind of got hold of them to say, here's my situation, this is what and they were, we'll back this, we'll help out wherever. So everything was in place. And so I thought, okay, tomorrow morning you are reporting to, pack your stuff, off you go. And he sort of looked at me sort of quite shocked and went, okay. And he walked out, and I kind of went, breathe. And then went, I think we've done it. This is fantastic. And so I phoned him later, and I said, okay, they're expecting you at 9:15 tomorrow morning. Here's the address. Like, pack a bag, but please just go have a look at it if it's not, And of course he went, and it wasn't for him. And that feeling of failure was a funny, bizarre kind of feeling of failure. But again, it reminded me that this was not my problem; it was his problem, and I could only encourage and I could only facilitate and all the rest, but I couldn't force him. The old cliche of you lead a horse to water, you can't, And what he did, he had a whole lot of things lined up for that month, and he came back to me and said, but if I can do this and if I can do that, and then. And all I heard was excuses, like, I don't need this, I'm fine, and the frustration. And I'm sure many people who have dealt with people they love or people that are close to them who are addicts or alcoholics or whatever, you're trying desperately to help, but the only person who can help at the end of the day is the person him or herself. They have to make that decision. You can make all the decisions for them, but until they make that final decision of, yes, I need help, and I'm going to accept the help.
I'll do whatever it takes to get that help.
Yeah.
When I call that the penny drop moment. When did that penny drop, and for you to do exactly what Dunk has described now? When did you go, guys, you're right?
By the way, like, I really had things lined up, so those were no excuses at all. I was not making excuses. I had things lined up for real. But when I came back from the facility, from the institution, and had a sit down with myself, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. This is what it is. This is what I need. I'm just gonna put a date down, and on the day we're gonna go. You see, self-will, it happens. Like it's good at that point in time, but when I have alcohol, it just doesn't work, right? And we put a date down, and the other date I was like, Duncan, I'm gonna go. This is my date. This is what I put down, and I'm gonna go then. He was like, okay, cool, I'm comfortable with that. I think it was a month, eh? Yeah, it was a month. And when the date came, went openly.
Wow.
Well, you say
I went.
No, you did. He absolutely did. But I, again, the people on the outside, I did on the day. I think it was like the 28th of August or whatever that date was. I forget exactly what the date was. I remember phoning Ruan and going, "Have you heard from him? Do you think he's gone?
Yeah,
do you think he's there? How do we check? How do we check that he's actually there?"
Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't. It was amazing. He didn't let us down. And
no, I guess when you got, for you guys, when you've been let down a lot of times, right? Like you expect the very same thing from because like it's the same person doing the same thing, so you expect that. And I did get it. But like in my mind, I was really done. I was like, okay, cool. I'm committing to this. And once I commit to something, I do it properly. So yeah, I did it properly. And let me tell you, it was the most liberating experience of my life. I got there very open, very willing. I got to learn so much about addiction and how it comes about, how it works. I've got to learn a lot about myself, my traumas, things that I've kept like literally swept under the rug. There's things that are can you believe this? There's things that are processed within that period that happened. It was real life stuff, but my brain had literally put it at the back of my brain. Like I didn't even think of them. I really had to go down and dig deep to pull them out and see the truth. It's things that happen. It's not a dream. It's not it happened, but it's stuff that I had to really go dig deep inside and like put them here and examine them and had to process those things in real time. You had to
confront them.
Yeah, had to process them in real time like they just happened now. And the emotions that I've also felt within the period is of those that I felt when it happened back then. So it is raw emotions, and it's the processing is happening right now, and I'm feeling the very same emotions, and you have to deal with it. It's luckily you have to deal with it in a very safe environment, which is like the best way to do it. That's a very, very safe environment, and you go through these things, and like. And I remember when I got into the facilities, it felt like I was grieving a little bit because I felt like I lost a best friend, which alcohol was. Yeah. And they talk about like you grieve a little bit and you feel like you lost something, and you have to go through those emotions and all of that. So like it is very liberating, in a sense of like I had to process, and I had to dig, and I had to interrogate, right? And all those things had to be real and had to feel them. But it's liberating in the sense of like I left them there. Like I felt everything, and I felt like weight has been shifted off my shoulders, right? And I'm dealing with the real me, and I'm accepting the real me, and the real me is beautiful, and I am starting to love that real me.
I like that. So I don't want to fast forward through that, but I mean there was a lot of things that obviously you had to do on your own. Mm-hmm. But I know that, you would have obviously thought about this a lot. You would have looked at yourself in that mirror regularly. Oh, God. But there was obviously a lot of love and care. So as much as you were handling it on your own, you were the one in the facility. There was obviously Duncan, Ruan, and the names that will come. People that, as you say, you were very tight with. You felt very safe with. And I mean, they talk about this whole thing, no man is an island, but the fact is that you had that support network from within the franchise, from within the team. And it talks to how important you are. I mean, how does that make you feel?
It's something that I struggled with for a long time. My counselor said, dude, you have a problem with being cared for. Yeah. Like, it's like you don't want it. Like, dude, we care for you. Like, people care about you. It's a positive thing. Just accept it. But it feels good. I don't think I would have said this prior to this experience, but it feels good to be cared for. It feels good to have people that love you. It feels good that you don't have to do everything by yourself. You know, you can give whatever you struggle to people and not feel like you're burdening them. It feels amazing. Everything that is tough for me to do, I can just give to someone else that loves me and be like, dude, here's a problem.
Help me.
How can we solve this? And they help me and we solve it and move on. It feels amazing. This thing of being, you know, macho man and like not speaking out, doing things in secrecy, having to carry the whole burden by ourselves, that thing really kills us. And it doesn't kill us physically, it kills us mentally, until to a point where we lean into things like alcohol. So if we men and we talk about these things and we help each other and we show genuine love and care for each other, I mean, like, we can manage so many things in life.
I think, you know, Jeremy, within the rugby setup, you are dealing with alpha males.
Sure.
You know, your cliched alpha males. And encouraging guys to show vulnerability, not weakness, vulnerability, and being able to say, yes, I need help, please help me, is a massive step. And what's amazing about Seabelo is he becomes almost in a funny sort of way the poster boy for exactly how we should be dealing with things. That it's okay, another cliche, it's okay not to be okay. And it's great within our team environment where guys are able to see, here's the superstar who wasn't what everybody thought he was, not the social media picture of the superstar, that actually he struggled and he needed help and he got help.
I was going to say, and he got help, Duncan.
Yeah, and that's one of the special things. You know, everybody talks about the DHL Stormers making Cape Town smile, but the big thing about us, we are a team. We're a team that cares about each other. So, you know, the environment that we're in it's fun, it's vibrant, all those things. But more and more, we're trying to tell the guys and make it clear to the guys that we're also here to help them. And again, I refer back to my players, the Rugby Players Union. You know, they have a whole setup, a network of psychologists who are available to players. And the big problem, and it's a typical man thing as well, is the fear of saying I need help, and who's going to know that I'm the weak one and need help. And so we don't ask for help. And again, this is why what Seabelo's doing now is fantastic, that he's stepping up. It's no secret. This is what happened. I'm at the beginning of a journey. The journey's not finished. I'm at the beginning of a journey and living his life, you know, as an alcoholic, as an addict, going to meetings, etc. It doesn't stop. You don't just come out of rehab and everything's great.
100%.
Okay?
It's a lot of work still.
It's the beginning of the journey. You know, so that he is sitting in front of people and talking about it. You know, that video on YouTube that we made, incredibly powerful stuff. Sitting here talking to you, Jeremy, getting the message out, inspiring people. And as he says, if we can help one other person, if he can help one other person to do what he's done, then that's his purpose. Absolutely brilliant. And we have to talk about it more and more.
And I think that's the secret, Seb, in terms of the fact that, you know, we mustn't keep it hidden. We mustn't be, you know, everything's fine, guys. I'm okay. I've got this one covered. You know, tell me where the crack is so that I can help you.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works. And I think and again, I'm going to you know, beat that drum just for a second more. The fact is that you, to use your own words, talking about your teammates, your brothers, and I'm sure sisters at the team.
Yeah, we have a lot of sisters.
Yeah, we got sisters, exactly. And I think that there is this, you know, care environment. There's this support environment that is not just, you're my teammate, pick up your socks, you know, in the change room. It does feel to me, just as an observer, admittedly I'm you know, fairly well embedded into the team, but it feels like, you know, you are one of the brothers, and at the moment, you've got a crack that they are fixing and caring for. It might be somebody else in a few months or years' time. And then you'll have to step up.
100%. Yeah. It's a chain. That's how it happens.
I was about to say I've got a whole lot of them lined up.
Exactly.
It's a chain. That's how it happens. We feel like brothers, and we are brothers because if you look at it, in retrospect, like we spend so much time together. Like we spend more time together than we do with our families, right? So you get to know people quite intensely, and you get to build those type of bonds. But there's still like an underlying thing with men that you only go until a certain level.
Yeah.
And I guess like that's kind of like my responsibility, because no one has put it to me. I am literally just doing it by myself. But like with me and the other guys, what I'm trying to do is just trying to go a little bit deeper, try to understand, because like when you go deeper, we can create a space where healing happens naturally. We don't have to go through lens of going to rehabs and all of that stuff. I went through it. It was, I said it was liberating, but it was very tough. It's crazy tough to be inside there. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, So we can pretty much mitigate all of these things by just having this small little conversation and creating spaces that are safe within ourselves where we can let go and talk about stuff and help each other about stuff. And yeah, once we get to that point, I guess like it'll be a brilliant place to be, because then the safe spaces that the rehabs create will kind of like do that in a very small scale.
And I mean, you're on that path. You recognize that you needed to be put on the path. You're on the path. You've got the support from your brothers, people like Duncan, people like Ruan, and then just a host of other sort of role players who are involved.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot, and we're grateful. You will acknowledge God's role in that, and the fact that He put those people there to sort of pick you up and put you onto that path. And
no, absolutely, He's the one orchestrating this whole thing.
Exactly. Here we sit though. I mean, I made the mistake at the start of this interview to go former Blitzboks player. But I mean, who's to say what the future holds?
We never know. That's why I'm not very quick to kind of like make conclusions. God writes beautiful stories, man. He writes beautiful stories, and yeah, He can make anything happen at any day. So yeah, I'm leaving that up to Him. Yeah. My only responsibility is take care of myself and the effort that I give on a daily basis. He'll do whatever He does.
Can I just lighten the mood a little bit?
Oh.
Is it too hectic?
No.
But a nice time to, because Sebs talks about the hard work, and we had a WhatsApp group. I haven't told him I'm going to read this yet, but we had a WhatsApp group called Project Sebs, where we put...
Wow.
What a name.
It was a project. But of course, when you go into rehab, the first thing they do is they take your phone away. So you have no contact with the outside world for the first couple of weeks. And so I think it was the second Sunday you were there. We get out of the blue, pop...
that's the first message.
Yeah, the first message that came through.
Phone after like 14 days or something like that.
And the first message reads, "Alive and well, gents!" ! The only constant is grateful to not see Ruan's face today. In my journal, lots and lots of good. I hope you're all living well, bless. You can try and respond. I mean, he only probably had a few minutes to do that. Anyway, time went by. And about a week later, another message from him. And I've never asked him, like, how often were you allowed to get on your phone? But I think it was at the end of a day. You were allowed an hour or whatever. So on Friday, the 16th of August, we're still alive. But this week, we've been working on rewiring the brain, so I've forgiven Ruan. But then this is tough work, gents. Rugby much easier. Super grateful for the opportunity to unpack and work on myself. I also appreciate the support I've received from each one of you. And I think that's quite an illustration of just how difficult it was. He never lost his sense of humor. I mean, any opportunity to have a go at Ruan, he does. But
that's true.
he and it was one of the big things he said to me when he came out was it was a deep dive. It was a deep dive into places he'd never been before, and I think perhaps talk a little bit more about that. But tough work, and to say rugby's easy compared with this, while he was in it, you could really see that it was not just a sort of a happy hotel you could go and stay in that wouldn't offer you anything to drink. It was proper tough work.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a story that is told with much honesty. As I was saying to you earlier, I mean, you've given us, you've not shied away from the route and the road that you've had to travel to get to where you are at the moment. And where you are at the moment is back inside the DHL Stormers team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So grateful for that. They've been. I know we have Duncan here to kind of like show face, but I think the union at large has been part of this journey. And the easiest thing for them to do is to back out and let me deal with it on my own. I sit back here again because they've given me another opportunity. They said, son, here's a contract. We see a lot of good in you. You're looking good. Go prove to the world and to yourself what you can be. And yeah, that for me, and I don't take lightly. They really, really backing me, and I'm super grateful to be part of that team. I'm super grateful to be back, contributing again. Hopefully, the guilt and shame that I felt, in the past of letting the guys down, I'll repay that and give them a little bit more.
I'm going to wrap it there, Dunk.
Good idea.
It's just looking at
No, I'm going to hold it together myself. So therefore, firstly, big thanks to Duncan Cruikshank, head of player affairs at the DHL Stormers. He always stands on my toes, but I mean, I know that he does it with the very best of intentions. Somebody I've always got a lot of time for. Seabelo Senatla, Blitzboks winner. Winger, I beg your pardon. Blitzboks. Well, winner and winger.
I like that one. The first one is good.
Yeah. And also, of course, DHL Stormers winger. Thank you. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for making us aware, for telling your story, and for saying, to Duncan's point, it's okay not to be okay. Go Stormers.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you so much for the space to tell my story. Hopefully someone got something out of this.
No doubt. There we go, folks. It's not always about how many points are scored. Sometimes it is about life that matters. And really appreciative to Seabelo Senatla for being in studio with us here on Super Saturday. Powered by Hollywood Bets.